Hey Boy was constantly bullied at school. One day he was cornered in an alley by his aggressors. Suddenly his Pitbull appeared in an intimidating manner to protect him. What happened next left everyone surprised. Before hearing this emotional story, remember to subscribe to the channel. William watched the clock on the classroom wall, counting down the minutes until the dreaded physical education class. His fingers tapped nervously on the desk as the Portuguese teacher explained irregular verbs. But his mind was far away, reliving the humiliations from the previous week, when Michael and his gang made him trip during warm-up, sparking laughter from all his classmates. At 12 years old, William was smaller than most boys his age, thin, wearing thick-framed glasses, and with a shyness that kept him from defending himself. He had become the favorite target of the school bullies. The physical education teacher, Mr. Robert, never seemed to notice anything, always busy with his phone or chatting with the most popular girls in class. The bell rang, making William jump. While his classmates excitedly ran to the locker room, he dragged his feet, being the last to change clothes. On the court, the ritual of humiliation began as usual, the selection of teams for the soccer game. "I'll take John," shouted Michael, the first captain. "Then I want Luke," replied Brandon, the second captain. One by one, all the students were chosen. William remained alone as usual, forced to play on the team that would accept him last. "Oh no, not William. He doesn't even know how to kick the ball," complained Michael, rolling his eyes. "Rules are rules, he has to play on some team," replied the teacher, without looking up from his phone. During the game, every time William touched the ball, he heard laughter and mean comments. "Hey, Four Eyes, you're going to break your glasses like that? Or be careful not to fall, weakling." The words hurt him more than any shove. At home, his only comfort was Thor, his 3-year-old Pitbull. The dog, with his intimidating appearance, hid a gentle heart and unwavering loyalty. As soon as William opened the gate that afternoon, Thor greeted him with his usual enthusiasm, licking his hands and wagging his tail vigorously. "At least you like me, huh, big guy?" murmured William, hugging the dog's muscular neck. That night, lying in his bed with Thor at his feet, William cried silently. The dog, sensing its owner's sadness, approached and laid its head on his chest, as if wanting to say it was there for him. William's mother, Mrs. Clare, watched her son with growing concern. She noticed his isolation, the dirt-stained clothes he sometimes brought home from school, and the way he avoided talking about his day. She tried to talk to him, but William always brushed her off, saying everything was fine. "Son, are you sure you don't want to tell me what's going on?" she asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "It's nothing, Mom, I'm just tired," William replied, turning to his side and pretending to sleep. What no one knew was that night something was about to change in William's life. Thor, his loyal companion, seemed to sense that his young owner needed his protection more than ever. Fate was preparing a twist that would not only transform William's life, but also that of the entire school. The next morning, William woke up with a different feeling in his chest. It wasn't just the usual fear, but something deeper, as if his body knew that day would be different. Thor, ever watchful, followed his movements with attentive eyes as he got ready for school. During breakfast, Mrs. Clare noticed that her son barely touched his favorite food. "William, you need to eat properly," she insisted, worried. But the boy just pushed the scrambled eggs around his plate, lost in thought. Before leaving, he hugged Thor tighter than usual, as if seeking courage from his furry companion. At school, the first classes went by normally, but the tension grew as break time approached. William had developed a strategy to avoid unpleasant encounters. He always stayed close to the teachers or hid in the library. However, that day, something went wrong. "Hey, Four Eyes!" Michael's voice echoed through the empty hallway. William felt his heart race. He had left the classroom a few minutes early to go to the bathroom, and now he found himself cornered. "Thought you'd escaped today." Michael wasn't alone. Brandon and 3 other boys were with him, all with mischievous grins on their faces. William tried to run, but his feet seemed glued to the floor. Fear completely paralyzed him. "You've been acting pretty cocky lately, William," Brandon taunted, stepping closer. "I think we need to teach you a lesson about respect." Then something extraordinary happened. A deep, powerful bark reverberated through the school hallways. Thor, who always waited for William at home, had somehow followed his trail to the school. The massive Pitbull appeared around the corner, his muscles tense and teeth bared, but without showing aggression, just a protective stance. The bullies instantly backed away. The dog positioned itself between them and William, its imposing presence completely transforming the dynamics of the situation. Michael, who just seconds ago had seemed so confident, was now visibly trembling. "Easy there," he stammered, taking another step back. "We were just messing around, right, William?" At that moment, something shifted inside William. Seeing his aggressors cowed awakened a strength he didn't know he had. He straightened his shoulders and for the first time looked Michael straight in the eyes. "No, you weren't messing around," he said in a firm voice that even surprised himself. "And this ends today." Coordinator Mrs. Beatrice, drawn by the noise, appeared in the hallway. Her eyes widened at the sight of the Pitbull, but before she could take any action, she noticed the unusual situation unfolding. "What's going on here?" she asked, looking from William to the other boys. It was at that moment that William made a decision that would change not only his life but the entire school's. Instead of staying silent as he always did, he decided to tell everything. The constant bullying, the humiliations, the teacher's silence. Thor remained by his side throughout the entire account, like an anchor of strength and courage. The coordinator listened intently, her face showing a mix of concern and determination. "William, why did you never tell us before?" she asked gently. "I was afraid," he replied, stroking Thor's head. "But now I know I'm not alone." That moment marked the beginning of a transformation. Thor's unexpected presence had not only prevented another bullying session, but had also given William the courage he needed to find his voice. The coordinator organized an immediate meeting with the parents of all those involved, and for the first time, the issue of bullying would be addressed with the seriousness it deserved. The meeting in the coordinator's office lasted hours. The parents of Michael and his group arrived visibly embarrassed, while Mrs. Clare stood determinedly beside her son. Surprisingly, Thor was allowed to remain at school after Mrs. Beatrice noticed the calming effect his presence had on William. "We can no longer ignore what is happening in our school," declared the coordinator, looking firmly at each person in the room. "And thanks to William's courage, we now have the opportunity to do something about it." To everyone's surprise, Michael was the first to speak up. With teary eyes and a choked voice, he confessed, "I was bullied at my old school too. That's why I moved here. I thought if I became the bully, no one would hurt me again." The silence that followed his confession was deafening. William looked at his former tormentor with new eyes, beginning to understand that behind every bully, there is often a story of unresolved pain. Mrs. Beatrice seized the moment of vulnerability to propose something revolutionary: the creation of an anti-bullying project at the school, led by the students themselves. "And I think William would be the perfect person to start this," she suggested. William felt all eyes turn to him. In the past, he would have shrunk back, but now, with Thor by his side, he felt capable of anything. "I accept," he replied, surprising even himself with his determination. In the days that followed, the school underwent a gradual transformation. With special permission from the administration, Thor became a constant presence in the school environment, always by William's side. His imposing yet gentle figure began to attract other students who also carried their own stories of loneliness and fear. During recess, William began to notice other students who, like him, used to hide in the corners. With Thor as a kind of icebreaker, he was able to approach these classmates. The Pitbull had a special gift for identifying who needed comfort, often gently approaching students who were crying alone or seemed distressed. "How did you manage to bring your dog to school?" asked Maria, a sixth-grade girl who always ate lunch alone. William shared his story and soon discovered that Maria was also facing similar problems to his. The idea began to take shape naturally. With the support of the school administration, William organized the first meeting of what would become the group Together We Are Strong. The chosen location was the school's amphitheater, and to his surprise, more than 20 students showed up. "Each of us has a story," William began, his voice initially trembling but gaining strength as he saw Thor sitting attentively by his side. "And all these stories matter." Among those present was Michael, who now showed a genuine interest in being part of the solution. "Can I help?" he asked hesitantly. Maybe I can talk about what it's like to be on both sides of this story." The group began meeting regularly. Thor wasn't just a mascot, but a living symbol of how strength could be used to protect, not to intimidate. Other students who had dogs at home started showing interest in the idea of training them as emotional support animals. The biology teacher, Mr. Frederick, impressed by the initiative, offered to help with information on animal behavior and the importance of the bond between humans and pets. "You're creating something very special here," he said during one of the meetings. News of the group began to spread throughout the school. Students who barely spoke before now greeted each other in the hallways. The school environment began to change, becoming more welcoming and safe for everyone. William watched these changes with a mix of pride and disbelief. In just a few weeks, he had gone from being a victim to leading a movement that was transforming his school. But he knew there was still much work to be done, and not everyone was happy with these changes. As he petted Thor after another successful group meeting, William had no idea that his greatest challenges were still ahead. However, now he had something he had never had before, a purpose greater than his own fear, and a group of people willing to fight by his side. The success of the group Together We Are Strong began to bother some senior students, especially those who used to exert power through intimidation. Luke Martinez, known for his negative influence over others, watched with growing irritation the changes happening at the school. "This is getting ridiculous," Luke commented to his group during recess. "That stupid project of William's is turning everyone into a bunch of crybabies." His followers agreed, but they no longer showed the same conviction as before. Meanwhile, William's group continued to grow. Maria, the shy 6th grade girl, had brought her Labrador Max to participate in the activities. 3 other dogs were already part of the project, all properly trained and authorized by the school administration. "Dogs have a special gift," William explained during one of the meetings. "They can sense when someone is sad or scared, and they know exactly how to offer comfort." The group now had over 50 regular members, including some teachers who volunteered to help. The art teacher, Mrs. Carmen, proposed a mural project around the school with positive messages and illustrations of the project's dogs. "Art can be a powerful form of expression," she said, as she helped the students plan the designs, "especially for those who struggle to express their feelings in words." Thor remained the pillar of the project. His calm and protective presence inspired confidence not only in the students, but also in the other dogs. William watched with pride as his companion had become a true 4-legged therapist, knowing exactly when to approach someone in need of support. However, not everything was rosy. Luke and his group began spreading rumors about the project, suggesting that the dogs were dangerous and should be banned from the school. Some concerned parents started questioning the presence of the animals in the school environment. "We can't let them destroy everything we've built," said Maria during an emergency group meeting. "The dogs have never hurt anyone. In fact, they've helped far more than any other school initiative." William knew they needed to act quickly to protect the project. With the help of Michael, who was well versed in intimidation tactics from having once been part of them, they developed strategies to handle the resistance. "Let's organize a special presentation," suggested William. "Show everyone how the dogs are trained and how they've been helping people." The idea was met with enthusiasm. Over the following weeks, the group worked intensely to prepare for the event. Each member had a story to share about how the project had changed their lives. Anna, an 8th grade student who barely spoke due to past trauma, found her voice through her interactions with the dogs. "Before the project, I was even afraid to raise my hand in class," she shared during rehearsals for the presentation. "Now, I feel like I can do anything." The physical education teacher, who had previously ignored bullying in his classes, became one of the project's biggest supporters. He began incorporating activities with the dogs into his lessons, promoting exercises that developed not only physical fitness, but also empathy and teamwork. "You are creating something revolutionary here," he commented during one of the training sessions. "This goes far beyond combating bullying. You are teaching values that these students will carry with them for life." As the day of the presentation approached, William felt a mix of anxiety and determination. He knew this would be a decisive moment for the project. Thor, as always, remained by his side, offering that silent support that had changed his life. What no one expected was that Luke and his group were planning something to sabotage the presentation. In the hallways, whispers and conspiratorial glances hinted that a storm was brewing. But this time, William was not alone to face it. The morning of the presentation arrived with a different energy in the air. The school auditorium was decorated with murals created by the art class, depicting touching scenes of interaction between the students and the dogs from the project. Thor, impeccably groomed, wore a blue bandana with the "Together We Are Strong" logo, just like the other participating dogs. William was adjusting the microphone on stage when he noticed suspicious movements at the back of the auditorium. Luke and his friends were whispering among themselves, carrying backpacks that seemed fuller than usual. Michael, who was now one of the project coordinators, also noticed something strange. "William, I think they're planning something," Michael whispered, approaching the stage. "I saw them hiding something backstage earlier." The audience was beginning to arrive. Parents, teachers, students, and even representatives from the Department of Education filled the seats. Mrs. Beatrice had managed to turn the presentation into an official event, drawing attention from the local media to the innovative initiative. Maria came running up, out of breath. "William, you need to see this. We found stink bombs hidden near the ventilation system. If they were set off, they would ruin the entire presentation." William's heart raced, but years of bullying had taught him to stay calm under pressure. He quickly gathered his core team: Michael, Maria, Anna, and 3 other students he trusted. "We won't let them intimidate us," William said, his voice steady. "We have something much stronger on our side: unity and purpose." They quickly assigned tasks. While some checked every corner of the auditorium for other surprises, others set up a discreet surveillance plan. The dogs, naturally alert, seemed to sense the tension in the air. The presentation began promptly at 9. William took the stage with Thor by his side, and silence fell over the auditorium. His voice, once timid and unsure, now conveyed confidence and conviction. "A few months ago, I was just another student afraid to come to school," he began. "Today I stand before you to show how friendship, understanding, and mutual support can transform not just a person, but an entire community." As William spoke, Maria and her team discreetly intercepted Luke trying to sneak through the backstage area. Instead of confronting him, they did something unexpected. They invited him to join the presentation. "Why don't you just turn me into the principal?" asked Luke, confused. "Because this project isn't about punishment or revenge," replied Maria. "It's about transformation and second chances. Just like Michael changed, you can change too." On stage, the presentation continued. Each student shared their story, accompanied by their partner dog. Anna, who could barely speak in public months ago, moved everyone as she told how Max, the Labrador, helped her overcome her fear of expressing herself. Thor stood by William like a silent guardian, his imposing presence contrasting with his gentleness as he interacted with the children who approached to pet him. The most surprising moment of the morning came when Luke, visibly nervous, asked to speak. William hesitated for a moment, but something in the former adversary's gaze made him agree. "I always thought I needed to make others feel small to feel big," confessed Luke, his voice trembling. "But seeing what you've built here, I realized I was wrong all along." The audience watched in silence, witnessing not just a presentation, but a moment of true transformation. The dogs, sensing the emotional energy in the room, naturally gravitated toward Luke, offering that unconditional comfort only animals can provide. The Together We Are Strong project was proving to be more than an anti-bullying program. It was a living lesson on forgiveness, growth, and the human capacity for change. And that morning was far from over, holding even more surprises that no one could have predicted. The presentation in the auditorium had a much greater impact than anyone could have imagined. In the days that followed, the school phone wouldn't stop ringing. Principals from other institutions wanted to learn more about the project, and local newspapers published articles about the innovative initiative. "You've created something extraordinary," said Mrs. Beatrice during a special meeting of the group. "Other schools are asking for help to implement similar programs." William could hardly believe what he was hearing. Thor, lying at his feet during the meeting, seemed to share his owner's pride, his tail gently tapping the floor as he watched everyone with his attentive eyes. "But how are we going to help other schools?" asked Anna, now one of the most active coordinators of the project. "We can barely handle our own demand." That's when Luke, the former bully who had surprisingly become an ally, had a brilliant idea. What if we created a manual? Something that explains step by step how to set up a program like ours. The suggestion was met with enthusiasm. Over the following weeks, the group worked tirelessly on creating the Together We Are Strong manual. Each member contributed their unique experience. Maria, with her talent for organization, structured the chapters. Michael wrote a special section on how to help bullies recognize and change their behavior. The biology teacher contributed technical information about dog training, while the art teacher created beautiful illustrations for the material. The impact of the project began to extend beyond the school walls. William was invited to give lectures at other institutions, always accompanied by Thor. The Pitbull had become a kind of local celebrity, breaking prejudices about his breed and showing how dogs considered dangerous could be gentle and therapeutic. "Do you know what's most amazing?" commented Mrs. Clare during dinner, after another successful lecture by her son. "You're not just helping other people, William. You've completely transformed yourself." It was true. The shy and frightened boy had given way to a confident and compassionate young leader. His stutter had practically disappeared, and he now faced challenges with determination instead of fear. The project also began to attract the attention of mental health professionals. A local psychologist, Dr. Rachel, offered to provide voluntary support to the group, impressed by the results they were achieving. "What you've built here is animal-assisted therapy in its purest and most natural form," she explained during one of the guidance sessions. "You're doing work that we usually only see in specialized clinics." Luke, who had initially planned to sabotage the presentation, became one of the most dedicated members of the project. His experience as a former bully offered a unique and valuable perspective. "Sometimes bullies are the ones who need help the most," he explained during meetings with new members. "They just don't know how to ask." The group expanded its activities to include weekend workshops, where entire families could bring their dogs to learn about basic training and emotional support. Thor led these sessions with his majestic presence, demonstrating infinite patience with younger, more energetic dogs. A particularly touching moment occurred when a sixth-grade girl who hadn't spoken for months due to trauma began to communicate again after a few sessions with the project's dogs. Her parents, overwhelmed with emotion, couldn't hold back their tears as they watched her smile and play with Thor. "You've given us our daughter back," the girl's mother said, hugging William. "There's no way to thank you enough." The success of the project began to attract national attention, and with it, new challenges emerged on the horizon. But now, William and his team were ready to face them. They had learned that when people and animals come together for a greater purpose, no obstacle is insurmountable. As the project grew, new challenges began to arise. The biggest one was how to maintain the essence of "Together We Are Strong" as it expanded to other schools. William spent hours talking to Thor in his room, reflecting on how to ensure the program didn't lose its soul in the process of growth. "We need to create something sustainable," William explained during a strategic meeting. "Something that continues to work even when we're not personally present." That's when Beatrice presented a revolutionary proposal to turn the project into an official program within the municipal education network. The idea was ambitious, but also daunting. It would mean more responsibilities, more bureaucracy, more challenges. "You have built something precious here," she said, looking at the group gathered in the library. "Now it's time to allow more people to benefit." Maria, always practical, began listing the necessary requirements. "We need clear protocols for the selection and training of the dogs, criteria for choosing coordinators at each school, safety guidelines." The group worked tirelessly on the documentation. Thor remained by William's side during the long planning meetings, as if he understood the importance of the moment. Other dogs from the project, Max, Maria's Labrador, Luna, Anna's Golden Retriever, and Buddy, Michael's mixed breed, also participated in the sessions, each contributing in their own way to keep the environment calm and focused. Luke surprised everyone by revealing a natural talent for technology. "We can create an app," he suggested, "something that helps connect the participating schools and share experiences." The idea caught fire. With the help of the computer science teacher, they began developing a digital platform that would allow participating schools to share their stories, questions, and successes. One day, during one of the training sessions with new dogs, William had an epiphany while watching Thor gently guiding a frightened puppy. "We're not just teaching people how to deal with bullying. We're teaching empathy, patience, and compassion." The project began to incorporate elements of emotional education into its curriculum. Dr. Rachel helped develop activities that combined the presence of the dogs with self-awareness and emotional regulation exercises. Dogs are natural masters of emotional intelligence, she explained. They respond to what we feel, not to what we say or pretend to be. The deepest transformations happened in the small moments. Like when a new student, transferred from another city after traumatic bullying experiences, found comfort in Thor's soft fur, or when Luke, during a particularly emotional session, finally managed to talk about his own fears and insecurities. "You know what's most amazing?" Anna commented during a break. "Each dog has its unique way of helping. Thor is the protector, Max is the playful one who makes everyone laugh, Luna has a special gift with the younger kids." The impact of the project began to extend beyond bullying issues. Teachers reported significant improvements in the academic performance of participating students. The school environment as a whole became more welcoming and collaborative. William, observing all this, felt a mix of pride and responsibility. The boy who once hid in corners was now leading a true revolution in education. Thor, his faithful companion from the start, remained his anchor, his constant reminder of how it all began. "Sometimes I wonder if you knew from the beginning how much all of this would grow," he whispered to Thor one night, as they finalized another chapter of the project's implementation manual. The program was about to take its next big step, but no one could predict the challenges that still lay ahead. However, one thing was certain: the roots they had planted were deep and strong, nurtured by the dedication of each group member and the unconditional love of the dogs who had become much more than mascots. They were true agents of transformation. The day, "Together We Are Strong," would be presented to the Municipal Education Council arrived faster than anyone expected. The auditorium of the Department of Education was packed with principals, teachers, and representatives from various schools in the region. William, wearing a dress shirt for the first time in his life, nervously adjusted his tie, while Thor, impeccable in his official project bandana, remained calm by his side. "Take a deep breath," Maria whispered, noticing her friend's nervousness. "Remember everything we've achieved so far." The presentation was set to begin in 15 minutes, but an unexpected issue threatened to ruin everything. 3 of the 5 dogs scheduled to participate in the practical demonstration were stuck in traffic with their handlers. Only Thor and Luna had arrived. "How are we going to demonstrate teamwork with just 2 dogs?" asked Anna, concerned. That's when Luke had another one of his brilliant ideas. What if, instead of just showing the work with the dogs, we took the opportunity to demonstrate how we handle unexpected situations? After all, that's what the project teaches: adaptation and resilience. William agreed immediately. Quickly, they reorganized the presentation. Thor and Luna would have to work twice as hard, but everyone trusted the dog's ability to adapt to the situation. The Secretary of Education, Dr. Helen Sanders, opened the session with a brief speech on educational innovation. When it was William's turn, he stood up, feeling the weight of all expectations on his shoulders. Thor, as always, remained by his side, his calming presence reminding William of his inner strength. "A year ago," William began, his steady voice echoing through the auditorium, "I was just a boy who was afraid to go to school. Today I'm here to show how fear can turn into strength, and how that strength can transform an entire community." The presentation flowed naturally. Thor and Luna perfectly demonstrated how dogs could identify students under stress and offer emotional support. Luke and Michael shared their transformative experiences, moving several board members to tears. Maria presented the project's statistical data: an 80% reduction in reported bullying cases, significant improvement in participants' academic performance, and a decrease in school absenteeism. Anna showcased the app developed to connect participating schools. The most impactful moment came when they invited some students from the audience to participate in a practical demonstration. Thor, with his characteristic sensitivity, naturally approached a girl who seemed particularly nervous. "This is extraordinary," commented one of the board members, observing how the Pitbull gently rested his head on the girl's lap, who instantly began to relax. Dr. Rachel, who was present as a consultant for the project, explained the scientific foundations behind the work. "What we see here is much more than an anti-bullying program. It is a living example of how we can create truly therapeutic educational environments. When the presentation ended, the silence in the auditorium was deafening. The Secretary of Education was the first to stand up, applauding enthusiastically. Soon, the entire auditorium was on its feet. "In 20 years working in education," said Dr. Helen, "I have never seen anything like this. This project will not only be implemented in our municipal network, but will also serve as a model for other cities." William could barely hold back his tears as he hugged Thor. The dog, sensing the emotion of the moment, lovingly licked his face, drawing smiles from the audience. Together We Are Strong had passed its biggest test yet, but as William and his team would soon discover, this was only the beginning of an even greater journey. The real challenge would be maintaining the essence of the project intact as it grew beyond their most optimistic expectations. 3 months after the presentation to the Municipal Education Council, Together We Are Strong had expanded to 10 schools in the region. William, now 13 years old, divided his time between his studies and visits to the new project units, always accompanied by Thor, who seemed tireless in his mission to support and comfort. "How do you manage to handle everything?" asked Mrs. Clare one evening, watching her son organize tracking spreadsheets on the computer. "It's Thor who gives me strength, Mom," replied William, smiling as the Pitbull rested his head on his lap. "When I see how dedicated he is to helping others, I can't do any less." The project had evolved in unexpected ways. Each participating school developed its own identity within the program, adapting it to their specific needs. At Padre Jose Municipal School, for example, students created a monthly newspaper dedicated to stories of overcoming challenges. At Santos Dumont School, a theater group using the dogs as part of their performances was gaining popularity. Maria now coordinated a team of 20 students responsible for the project's app, which already had over 1,000 active users. Luke, surprising everyone, turned out to be an excellent instructor for new dog trainers. "Who would have thought the former bully would be our best teacher?" joked Anna during a coordination meeting. The impact of the program began to catch the attention of researchers. A local university has initiated a formal study on the benefits of interaction between students and dogs in the school environment, using Together We Are Strong as a case study. Thor, now 4 years old, had become a true legend among the students. Stories about his feats circulated through the school hallways, how he could identify students in need of support even before they showed visible signs of distress, how his presence calmed even the most tense situations. "It's like he has a sixth sense," commented Dr. Rachel during an observation session. "He doesn't just react to emotions, he anticipates them." The success of the project also brought new challenges. Some people began to question whether a group led by teenagers would have the capacity to manage something so large. Others were concerned about safety and liability issues. That's when William had a revolutionary idea. What if we created a youth council? A group of students from each participating school to help with important decisions. The suggestion was implemented immediately. The Youth Council of Together We Are Strong began meeting monthly, bringing new perspectives and ideas to the project. Thor attended every meeting, his serene presence helping to keep the environment productive and harmonious. One of the council's most successful initiatives was the creation of ambassadors for the project in each school. Students trained to be the first point of contact for anyone in need of help. "We can't be everywhere at once," explained William during a training session for new ambassadors, "but we can create a support network that reaches every corner of every school." The impact of the program began to extend beyond the school walls. Parents reported significant changes in their children's behavior at home. Teachers noticed an improvement in the classroom environment. Even the neighborhood around the school seemed more united and collaborative. Thor, observing all of this with his attentive and wise eyes, continued to be the heart of the project. His example of gentle strength and loving protection inspired not only the other dogs in the program, but also every person who came into contact with the project. As the school year approached its end, William and his team began planning for the future. Together We Are Strong had become much larger than any of them could have imagined. But its core principles remained the same: empathy, courage, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity. On the last day of the school year, the gymnasium of the project's original school was packed, Students, teachers, parents, and representatives from all the schools participating in Together We Are Strong gathered for a special celebration. Thor, wearing a specially made gold medal for the occasion, walked proudly beside William. "It's amazing to think about everything that has happened in just 1 year," reflected William, looking at the crowd. The frightened 12-year-old boy had transformed into a respected young leader, and much of that transformation he owed to his faithful four-legged companion. The ceremony began with an emotional presentation, a video showing the journey of the project, from that first day when Thor unexpectedly appeared at the school to defend William, to the latest results in the 10 participating schools. Maria took the stage to present the official numbers. "This year we recorded a 90% reduction in bullying cases in the participating schools. Over 2,000 students were directly benefited by the project, and our app now has 5,000 active users." Luke, who had once planned to sabotage the project, now coordinated the dog training program, which had already trained more than 50 pairs of students and their canine companions. "Each dog has its own way of helping," he explained. "Just as each person has their own path of transformation." Anna introduced the new mentorship program, where more experienced students in the project guided the newcomers. "The most important thing isn't just the results," she said, "but how we achieve them, together supporting one another." The biggest surprise of the night came when the Secretary of Education announced that Together We Are Strong would be implemented in all schools across the state in the next academic year. This project has proven that when we give children and young people the opportunity to lead, they can transform the world, she declared. Thor, as if understanding the importance of the moment, sat majestically beside William. His example had inspired a new generation of emotional support dogs, proving that even breeds considered dangerous could be agents of transformation and healing. Michael, now one of the regional coordinators of the project, shared his unique perspective. "When I was a bully, I thought strength meant making others feel small. Today, I know that true strength is helping others discover their own greatness." The most touching moment of the night was when a line of students spontaneously formed to thank Thor. Each had a different story to tell about how the Pitbull had changed their lives. The dog received each thank you with the same serene dignity that characterized him. William, watching the scene, felt his eyes fill with tears. "You know, Thor," he whispered, "you didn't just save me that day. You taught us that sometimes the most unlikely hero can make the biggest difference." The celebration ended with the announcement that Together We Are Strong had been selected to represent America at an international education conference. But for William, the true success was in the smiles he saw around him, the friendships that had formed, and the lives that had been transformed. As people began to disperse, Thor gently rested his head on William's knee, as he always did when he sensed his friend needed comfort. The boy smiled, knowing their journey was far from over. In fact, it was only the beginning of something much greater. Together we are stronger, thought William, and we always will be. It was a sunny spring morning in 2030, and the auditorium at the Federal University was packed. William, now 17, adjusted the microphone while Thor, at his dignified age of 8, rested serenely by his side. The Pitbull, though showing some white hairs on his muzzle, maintained the same attentive and protective gaze as always. "Welcome to the first National Conference on Animal-Assisted Therapy in Education," began William, his voice conveying the maturity the years had brought him. Together We Are Strong had evolved from a school project into a program present in over 500 schools across America. Maria, now a veterinary medicine student, coordinated the animal health and welfare area of the project. The app she helped create had transformed into a comprehensive management platform, connecting thousands of schools and professionals dedicated to the cause. "When we started, we were just a group of kids with a dream," continued William, stroking Thor's head. "Today, we are a national network of social transformation." Luke, who was finishing his technical course in systems development, had expanded the project's digital platform to include artificial intelligence that helped identify behavioral patterns and prevent conflict situations in schools. "Technology can amplify the impact of love," he often said. The program now included a robust academic component. Researchers from various universities studied the Thor method as the protocol developed from the Pitbull's pioneering interactions with students became known. Thor didn't just change my life, William explained during his lecture. He created a new paradigm for how we can address bullying and emotional health in schools. Anna, who was beginning her psychology degree, led study groups on the emotional impact of the program. The results were impressive. Participating schools reported not only a reduction in bullying, but also significant improvements in academic performance and the overall well-being of students. During the conference break, Thor received special attention from the attendees. Even older, he maintained his unique ability to identify people who needed emotional support. At that moment, he gently approached a young speaker who seemed nervous about her upcoming presentation. "It's amazing how he still does that," commented Michael, now the head instructor of the dog training program. "Thor has trained hundreds of dogs, but none have exactly the same gift as he does." The project had branched out into several initiatives. In addition to the original school program, there was now Together We Are Strong University, JSF Community, and even a corporate arm, bringing the program's principles to different contexts. William watched everything with a mix of pride and humility. "You know what's most incredible?" he remarked to Maria during a quiet moment. "Every time I think the project has reached its peak, Thor shows us a new path to follow." The conference marked not only the consolidation of the program, but also the beginning of a new phase. Representatives from other countries had come to learn about the project, interested in replicating its success. Thor, lying at William's feet during the presentations, seemed to understand the magnitude of the moment. His legacy had transformed into something much greater than anyone could have imagined on that frightening day in the school hallway 5 years ago. "The true power of transformation," William concluded in his speech, "is not just in the programs we create or the numbers we achieve. It lies in the ability to see beyond appearances, to believe in the potential of every living being, and to never underestimate the impact that an act of love can have." The international airport was bustling on that autumn morning. William, at 17, was double-checking Thor's documents as they waited to board their flight to Geneva, where they would present Together We Are Strong at the UNESCO headquarters. The Pitbull, now internationally certified as a therapy dog, maintained his calm demeanor even amidst the terminal's hustle and bustle. "I still can't believe we're presenting at the UN," whispered Maria, who accompanied the duo as the scientific coordinator of the project. The program had been selected as one of the 10 most innovative educational projects in the world. Together We Are Strong was now much more than an anti-bullying program. It had become a global movement for educational transformation, with ramifications that far exceeded initial expectations. "Remember when we thought expanding to other schools was impossible?" joked Luke, who was traveling with them to present the project's digital platform. The app he had developed was already available in 12 languages. During the flight, William reviewed his presentation while Thor slept peacefully at his feet. The Pitbull, even older now, remained the heart of the project. His story had inspired a fundamental shift in public perception of breeds considered dangerous. Upon arrival in Geneva, they were greeted by a delegation of international educators. Among them was Sophia Lambert, a French expert in socio-emotional education, who had studied the Thor method for 2 years. "What you've created is revolutionary," Sophia explained during the welcome dinner. "It's not just about preventing bullying. It's about reimagining the entire school environment." The presentation at UNESCO was marked by emotional moments. Thor, as always, stole the show by demonstrating his unique ability to connect with people from different cultures and languages. The Pitbull naturally interacted with representatives from various countries, breaking cultural barriers with his loving presence. "What started with a dog protecting a boy," narrated William during his speech, "has turned into a global movement of mutual protection and collective growth." The numbers presented impressed everyone. Over 1 million students impacted in 15 countries, an average 85% reduction in bullying cases in participating schools, and significant improvements in students' mental health indicators. But the most touching moment came when delegations from different countries shared their own stories of implementing the program. A school in Japan had adapted the project to address the issue of social isolation. In South Africa, the program was helping to build bridges between historically divided communities. "Thor didn't just change my life," reflected William during the closing session. "He taught us that true strength lies in our ability to care for one another. The project received UNESCO's commitment right then and there for global expansion. Representatives from 30 more countries expressed interest in implementing the program in their educational systems. During the trip back to America, while Thor rested peacefully, William thought about how a moment of fear and despair had turned into something so grand. The scared 12-year-old boy could never have imagined that his four-legged best friend would inspire a global revolution in education. "You know, Thor," he whispered, stroking the Pitbull's now salt and pepper fur, "you didn't just save me that day. You're saving the world one heart at a time." The Pitbull lifted his head and looked at his young companion with those wise and gentle eyes that had seen so many transformations over the years. In that moment, William understood that the true legacy of Together We Are Strong wasn't in the impressive numbers or international recognition, but in the simple truth Thor had taught from day one. Love has the power to transform everything. It was a special spring afternoon in 2030. At the training center of Together We Are Strong, Thor watched with pride as his first litter of puppies participated in the graduation ceremony of the therapy dog program. At 8 years old, the Pitbull had become the father of 6 puppies, each inheriting not only his imposing appearance, but also his extraordinary emotional sensitivity. William, now a 17-year-old about to start college in psychology, couldn't contain his emotions as he watched Thor's puppies follow in their father's footsteps. Luna, the mother of the puppies, a pit bull rescued 2 years earlier, stood equally proud beside Thor. "It's as if the universe conspired to multiply his gift," commented Maria, observing how each puppy demonstrated a unique ability to connect with people. Each one has a little bit of Thor, but also their own special way. The training center had become a global reference in animal-assisted therapy. Occupying a vast green space on the outskirts of the city, the facility now welcomed visitors from all corners of the world interested in learning the Thor method. "Look at Hope," Luke pointed to the smallest of the litter, a white pit bull with caramel spots. "She has the same look as Thor when he senses someone in need of support." Hope had been assigned to work with autistic children, demonstrating extraordinary patience and a unique ability to calm sensory meltdowns. Her siblings had also found their specific callings. Max specialized in working with the elderly, Sky was exceptional with anxiety cases, Storm excelled in supporting war veterans, Luna Jr. had a special gift with traumatized children, and Spirit was impressive in working with people recovering from substance abuse. During the graduation ceremony, Thor walked proudly beside each of his puppies as they received their official certificates. The moment symbolized more than just a graduation. It was the continuation of a legacy of love and transformation. "Thor didn't just create a method," William said during the ceremony. "He created a dynasty of emotional guardians, each destined to touch lives in unique and profound ways." The project now included a responsible and ethical breeding program, focused on preserving and developing the special characteristics that made these dogs so extraordinary in therapeutic work. Each puppy was carefully prepared from birth, receiving not only technical training, but also all the love and attention needed to develop their unique potential. After the ceremony, as families met the new therapy dogs, Thor gathered his puppies in a touching moment. The old pitbull, still majestic despite his age, seemed to pass on one final silent lesson to his offspring. "It's as if he's saying it's their turn now," observed Anna, moved by the scene. William approached his loyal friend, kneeling beside him. "You've built something incredible, buddy," he whispered, hugging Thor. "Your love will keep changing the world through them." The sun set on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange, as Thor watched his puppies begin their own journeys. Each of them would carry forward not only his genes, but also his mission to make the world a kinder, more welcoming place. "Love never ends," reflected William, watching the scene. "It just transforms and multiplies, touching more and more lives." Thor looked at his young companion with those wise and loving eyes that had seen so many transformations over the years. In that moment, both knew they had created something eternal, an endless cycle of love and healing that would continue long beyond their own lives. And so, as the stars began to dot the night sky, Thor rested content, knowing his legacy was safe in the paws of his puppies and in the hearts of all those who had been touched by his extraordinary journey of love and transformation.